Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you. It might not. All right, so buckle up for this one. Buckle up for this one, all right? Because there I was, not minding my own business, tapping into the energies and the ethers to see if a message wanted to come through. And one did, and it was juicy, and it was fascinating, and it was interesting. And it sent me on a wild goose chase through the internet to try and understand what I felt like Spirit was trying to get me to understand. And now I'm here sharing it with you. But I sincerely hope that you are sitting down and will remain so for the duration of this reading, because wow. Okay. So when I was tapping into the energy, the first thing that came through to me was a schmegsual fantasy. And I'm not clutching my pearls over that. Okay. They come through from time to time. I was just 100% sure that I'd already seen this one before. And I can't remember when, or I just know that I'd seen it. So I was getting ready to move on. But something inside of me was like, no, look again. So I looked again. And it all started to look different to me. Like I was seeing like the energy, the way the energy was kind of flowing. And I started to notice different things. It was like leading me to seeing different things that I didn't see before. And that kept happening until I was putting together all these dots. And I was like, wait a second, is this what I think it is? And then that's when I had to go do my research. So I think I learned enough to kind of tell you about what's going on. But first, let me explain this fantasy. Well, actually, before I explain the fantasy, okay, because this ties in to, I had an experience the other day where I started to channel a message and then it just cut out on me. And I think this is actually related to that, because this person was coming through, at least I think it's this person, was coming through and they were trying to tell you through me in the message. They were trying to say that something you did or something that you said illuminated something for them, and it made them see something in a different light than what they'd seen it before. And it had something to do with what they thought was just like a matter of like a sense of humor. Like, it's something that they just thought was like really funny, or really, it might not be funny, like the thing, but it could be like really just enjoyable. They thought it was a matter of like personal preference. You said or did something where it made them realize that it was like not, it was causing pain. And for some, it's like, no, this is just like torture. And there was something else that you said where it caused them to see either themselves and or another person that they were dealing with here. Because I saw a shirt that had the word angel on it, but it was written backwards. So like it made them see themselves or possibly like another person or possibly both as, oh, I thought that that was like a nice person or a sweet person. And that we just had like this certain sense of humor, or we just had this certain kind of thing, like maybe it's a kink, or maybe it's and then they're realizing, no, actually that's not it. But in that message, they were saying, well, now let me do the same for you. Like you changed my perspective on this, but it was like this person wanted you to see them differently in that situation. And some of these people wanted to be like separated out from this other person. Like, okay, well, I was able to see that here about this other person, that they're a certain way, but I'm not that way. I just thought that I shared a similar, again, like I don't think it's sense of humor. It could be a similar sense of humor, a similar tendency with this person, but I understand why you're lumping us together, but let me kind of pull back. And so when they went to explain like, okay, how they wanted you to see them, what was different, it's like they cut off, because it was like they were trying to figure out how to explain it. And I don't know if they were having more realizations where they're like, well, wait a second, doesn't actually make sense. But for some of those people, I felt like they were like, well, wait a minute, I can't say that. That's too much. Like that says too much. It's going to reveal something here. And I feel like it might be this, like what I kind of tapped into in this reading. Okay. So take that however you will. So this fantasy that I saw playing out, and again, I'm 100% sure that I've seen this before. So if I mentioned it in another video, I kind of think it came out in a pick a card on Patreon, because I know we did a 18 plus over there not too long ago. It could have come out in that. So if you've heard this before, right? Okay. So what I was seeing is I was kind of like seeing an auditorium, and I was seeing this masculine whose fantasy this is, that I was picking up on, sitting against the wall in this auditorium, but he was sitting like in the shadows and nobody else was like around him. And he was seated in a relaxed posture, looking out into the scene in front of him that was about to occur. And that was kind of a part of it. I felt like it was a part of the kink. It was a part of the fantasy, the like kind of getting excited about like, oh, this is like about to kick off, kind of a thing. And it looked almost like a stage setup, except for, there was no like stage, no elevated like kind of scene. It was just, he was very much sitting in the dark and observing. what was going to happen like under the lights, if that makes sense. But he also, like when he was sitting there in this like kind of relaxed position, he had a smirk on his face, which I associated with duper's delight. And I felt like he was kind of actually like vampirically feeding off of the energies here in this situation, and off the fact that nobody really saw him. Nobody saw him as the puppet master, because it felt very much like he set this up in the background. That's why he knew that it was like about to happen. And he was like getting excited for it to like almost happen. And he had this duper's delight because essentially this is like a girl fight that he set up that he feels like is going to happen. Now, I don't know if it did, or I don't know if something went wrong. We'll talk about that like later here. And also he could have done this in multiple scenarios with multiple people, because this is very much coming through like a kink, you know, but like kind of, I don't know, more than that. But this little duper's delight thing, it is coming from the fact that these two women that he set up to kind of fight over him and have emotions over him and whatever, don't have, like, they might have very different versions of who they think that he is. But also, it's not just these two that he's watching here. It's like a social scene. This is happening. It's not an explicitly schmegsual scene here. It's a social scene that he's watching, that he's feeding off of, and he's getting all worked up over. It's also the people that are like onlookers and that are watching this situation as well. Because not only is he feeding off of this sense of like being fought over here and the upset that it's causing within, that's what he's feeding off of here. And that's what I started to look up. I was like, I think this is sadism. And, you know, sadism is a scale, you know, so take this on scale. But basically I learned about something called everyday sadism, where it's like sadism light, I guess, if sadism can be light. But it's like not reaching clinical levels, but it's just somebody that really likes, well, actually, I've got the definition here from a Psychology Today article because I wanted to read a little bit of this to you. But so it says, sadomasochism can be defined as the taking of pleasure, often sexual in nature, from the inflicting or suffering of pain, hardship, or humiliation. And I feel like that's what he's set up to go on here. Pain, hardship, and humiliation, the emotional kind of like suffering here, and the humiliation of it all that's gone down here, or that is about to go down here. But like I said, I feel like it's more than just this, because I think that this is a guy who is, honestly, he's coming across as like very weak and like kind of a coward to me. And I feel like he is engendering like a sense of personal identity, not just within him as, oh, I'm somebody who is like fought over and whatever, but also for these other people that are around. He's building his own like sense of self, his own identity that's very different than this coward energy that I'm picking up on. And it's in the mind of each of these women. But it might be very different, because I feel like each of these women has a different perspective of him, of who they think he is. And it's also for this social group around of like, oh, well, he must be really something if everybody's fighting over him. But the other thing is, I think he also knows that he's feeding off of the pain of these other people as well, because these other people are close to one or both of these women and maybe don't want to see them fighting or feel protective over one of them, don't want to see them hurt and crying. And he's really feeding off of this. And he does not want to be seen in this aspect. And I feel like that's one thing that I'm supposed to illuminate. And I don't think I saw that before. In the other time that I picked up on that fantasy, there's a real duper's delight thing and a real puppeteer puppet master. And what he's puppeteered is, okay, so he's selected these two women here basically to be like his playthings, to be played with. And he's selected them because they have exact opposite traits. And when I was telling you, I was kind of picking up on where the energy was running. It's like he set up a magnet here, like on an energetic level, because they're both like very opposite, and it's causing the energy to build and to run like back and forth. It's like really, really ratcheting it up, because these are very, very opposite women that he's involved with here. And one of the women is much more aggressive in her nature. She's much more like kind of low down in her mannerisms. She's very jealous and she's very possessive over him. And he likes that. He likes that because of, first of all, the emotional investment that it signals that she has in him. It's this kind of Bonnie and Clyde, like I would do anything for you, but it's very self-destructive. I think their connection is very schmegsual, like animalistic, almost schmegsuality. There's no even almost guise of caring and love. It's just the animal act of doing schmegs between the two of them. And that's what she feeds off of in this situation, because I think she's a person that mistakes attention and schmegs for love. And this strikes me as the kind of person that doesn't even need to be a party, like, or not a party, doesn't need to be the partner. in order to like one up on somebody. They're perfectly happy being a third party and just also knowing, I think they also feed off of engendering a sense of pain here in this other person, feeling like they've taken something away from that other person, or just like, I don't know. I feel like you kind of get it. It's like this aggressive kind of energy. And like I said, he likes that in her because of, it shows that kind of emotional investment. It shows that she's willing to fight over him, and she's willing to debase herself over him. And she's got that aggressive tendency. So behind closed doors, even when it's just the two of them, if he points her attention in subtle ways, like towards another target, signaling that he might be interested in somebody else, or there might be a thing, she'll get aggressive. She might make certain comments and he'll join in, and he feeds off of that kind of aggression, that like bullying behavior. But also he knows he can rile her up, point her in a direction, and tell her to attack, and she will. And that's what he wants to happen here. And again, he feeds off of it, like the power. He like controls this lady, and she's super, super aggressive. And her humiliation, I think, to this group is that this group sees that she's like stuck on this guy, and also that she's never the main partner. Even if she can break somebody up here, and maybe she feels like she's the main partner here for the time, she's really never actually. She's always he never like fully commits to her or anything, and it's humiliating. Actually, he views it that way. This group views it that way. I think they feel bad for her, but she's like trapped in that kind of cycle, and she probably doesn't want people to feel bad for her. People probably think that she deserves more, and they know that he kind of tortures her psychologically. He keeps her in this state of like a bulldog frothing at the mouth, this like aggressive state, where if she was with a healthier partner, and she could build her self-esteem, and she wouldn't be behaving like this. So it's watching somebody basically torture somebody that you love. And I feel like it's easy to forget that this person's also a victim of this guy and his psychological manipulations, because they're so aggressive. And I'm not excusing anything aggressive that this person might do. And I also think that it might be very public, whatever aggressive thing that this person does to try and humiliate the other target here. And that also plays into their humiliation, because she'll do that. It's a huge sign of loyalty towards him. But he still wants to be with this other person. Like he'll still go be with that other person. So they do these like huge signs. It's absolutely not returned. And also theirs is not an emotional connection. And I feel like it's very based, like in regards of the schmegduality here. And it just feels like there's no like making love energy here. It's like all kind of down and dirty. And I feel like there may be like actual sexual kinks that are like degrading, or like she might do certain like degrading schmegdual things that he asks her to do. There could be an actual like infliction of pain here. I don't know why, but I'm getting like butt stuff with this guy. Like I'm not saying everybody who likes that is this way. I'm saying I think in particular that's like kind of a thing here, maybe for this person. But yeah. And so that's the one side of it. Now the other side of it, this partner, this is probably the partner here. But this is a very different natured person. This is a very sweet person, a very cooperative person, a very empathetic person. And I feel like probably this is the partner, and there is a sense of love. There is a sense of like making love, making a family, making a home. If this person loves at all, you see what I'm saying? Because at the very least, this sadist person, like whose fantasy I'm tapping in on, like if they may well care about these people a little bit, to whatever degree they're capable. It's not necessarily psychopathy that's going on here. But at the very least, they know that this is a softer person. This is like a relationship person. And if they in order to bait this person into this space, this is like somebody who would be the girlfriend, somebody who would be the boyfriend here. They would need that to be involved here at all. And so they would kind of put on the front of the perfect girlfriend or the perfect boyfriend, or offering that to this person, and seemingly being like the protector in the situation to this person, all the while behind the scenes being the one that's riling up this other person that's causing all the problems to begin with. And I think they may feed off of that, because that's what they seem to have set up in this particular scenario. Okay, so actually with the softer person, there might be a real kink for this person crying, like in their softer nature, and it's like the emotional pain, or like, it's again, that emotional investment. But with this person, it's like, I love you so much. And I feel like it might go back and forth between these two of like, that person feeling like they have a faithful relationship. They need to be reassured that, that didn't mean anything. That was just, you didn't mean to, like, whatever. It's, it was her, it was all her. And it's not like, it's that kind of like reassurance, but then it always kind of kicks back up again because she doesn't know who he really is. Nobody really does, because he switches it up depending on who he's around. And he does it in part to feed this kink that he has and this psychological urge to watch people suffering in like emotional pain and to cause hardship for people, which, like if these two women, I don't know where this is going on. I'm just seeing this. It almost looks like a stage to me, but like if they work together, that causes hardship. Like, every single day, whenever it is that you like go into work, you're going to see this other person sometimes, even when he's not there to be feeding off of, like vampirically feeding off of the energy. It creates hardship, undue hardship in people's lives, which are hard enough, frankly. And then it's like this humiliation thing. And I feel like for the partner, there's this humiliation that I think he's involved with this other kind of person to begin with, because I feel like this person is like almost a perfect partner kind of an energy. And it's like, they really are everything. And it's, how could I not be enough for you? But it's like, very much this person has this like other side that's like very very sadistic. And I feel like the sadism comes out with the partner, maybe, of just knowing that he's betraying her behind her back and that she doesn't know about it. I don't know if he might like to make her cry. I don't know. It might be the same thing where he tries to push her boundaries in regards of schmegs and like to get her to do like degrading, humiliating acts, or when they do things and maybe she's not embarrassed or humiliated, but he might try to make her feel that way, that what she did was like wrong or something. I don't know. But so that's the fantasy here, is like having these people fight over him, and he fantasizes about that, and he fantasizes about the attack, really, from this aggressive person to this softer person. He fantasizes about that. That's the big kickoff here in the situation. And I don't know if this happened or if this is just something he fantasizes about. Because I feel like something may have gone wrong here. And this is for those of you that resonated with like the star family reading. Because I'm hearing them say like, this might cause you some kind of pain, but I have to flip the energy. And I'm flashing to, I had this like one holistic healing session with somebody once. And I have this scar actually on my arm, and he was like pinching at it and stuff. And he was like, sorry, I got to cause you pain in order to like pull this up. And that's kind of what I'm getting this star family saying, is like, well, I'm so sorry, I've got to cause you pain here. I'm going to flip the energy. So I don't know if this actually happened, or for some of you, this is really just a kink here, where something here may have like blown up in this guy's face. But it just could be like somebody here's got more composure than he expected, and like this just didn't really go off. But anyways, yeah, that's what he fantasizes. He fantasizes about the attack, and he fantasizes about like the big social hubbub, all the chaos and the confusion and the emotions that are like, oh, whoa, with that going on. He fantasizes about this softer person getting attacked and crying and feeling hurt. And he fantasizes about stepping in and the confusion and the everybody maybe intervening or not intervening. I don't know. It's like the pain here in this in the humiliation or and then is when he's going to insert himself into the situation. But it's very manipulative, because it's going to be one way over here with the person that was soft and just attacked, and it's another way over there with this other person who's very aggressive, because he knows that it's like he knows that hit this aggressive. So he comforts the person that's like soft and wants to act like a protector, but he's not really, because he's what caused the whole thing to begin with. And he is absolutely not going to stop hanging out with, talking to this other person. And he's an entirely different way with them. So he's not the protector, but he feeds off of getting that image, possibly like out in public. But then behind the scenes, he's still going to go over there with that aggressive person, give them time, energy, schmegs, make fun of the situation, be an outlet for her aggression, join in on it, that kind of thing, to reassure. It's very good dog. It's let me go give you your biscuit kind of a thing. Cause we both know that I wanted you to attack, but like I said, there's humiliation, because he's going to take probably publicly the side of this person who is, or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe he'll take the side of this more aggressive person, and he wants this other person to cry. So he's feeding off of this. He's feeding off of this scenario, and then he's going to be very manipulative behind the scenes. And he continues to puppet master this. And I feel he needs, this like investment of this softer person in believing that he's a good person, and believing that he loves them and cares about them and doesn't want to cause them pain, and in fact wants to protect them, when in fact he's what's causing the problem here. all along. Okay, so I wanted to read you a couple other things from the Psychology Today article. The one I'm reading is from Neil Burton, MA and MD. But I read a lot of different things here as well that I don't know if I remember certain things that might come up. But okay, so it goes on to say here, consensual sadomasochism. Consensual, which this is not, okay, because he's orchestrating all of this behind the scenes. Nobody's consenting to being involved in this. Consensual sadomasochism should not be confused with acts of schmegsual aggression. While sadomasochists seek out pain, etc., in the context of love and schmegs, they do not do so in other situations and abhor uninvited aggression or abuse as much as the next person. Generally speaking, sadomasochists are not psychopaths and often all the opposite. And that's like something interesting here as well, because when I was in school, we learned about the dark triad, but apparently now it's the dark tetrad. So it's these dark traits that tend to cluster together. So it is sadism, narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. And I feel like that's kind of, I don't know how many of them, you're all dealing with different people here. So I don't know how many of them your particular person has. In this situation. But what I was reading up on is that I guess studies have found that narcissism and sadism together, just those two. They used to think that psychopathy was involved in this as well, but just narcissism and psychopathy is highly related to sex drive. So if you have those two traits, like the sex drive is really, really high. And I feel like that's probably what you have going on here with this particular guy. So he might not be a psychopath. I feel like with all this going on here, though, there's definitely some Machiavellianism going on here as well. But I feel like that, I pick up in my readings that some of these people thought that like you were the problem. So if this didn't go to plan, because you actually have a lot more like decorum, self-control than he expected, then he could have blamed you like, oh, well, why didn't this work out? Because he's done this before. This is like an uncontrollable, well, I don't want to say it's uncontrollable. He just refuses. It's like a kink, and he's set this up. And so, especially if you're the softer person here, where it's like, well, why didn't you cry? Or maybe if you're the aggressive person, it's like, why didn't you lash out? Because they feel like whatever they set up, they know it's painful. It was meant to be. So if you kept yourself in check, then this person's like, oh, well, why didn't they cry or lash out? Like, why didn't they have an emotional outburst? I just caused them pain. I wonder if they're a psychopath, like, kind of thing. But you're not. I feel like you're onto it. Like you could kind of sense that this was what was going on. Or I think once you realized in some way, and it could be because this other lady's aggressive. So once you saw him out with her, you kind of know birds of a feather flock together. And you know that at least there's some place where these two meet where, oh, he's aggressive. And so at least from there, I feel like you pinpointed that this was no accident, that this was like kind of set up here. You're smarter than you're something more than what he gave you credit for. And it might be more than one thing, where like you're smarter, you have more decorum and just like self-respect. Okay. So I wanted to read another part of this that I found to be really interesting, but I just got to find this. They do talk about how they are often like related to one another. And actually, I saw something where they were talking about moral masochism. And I kind of had to like, am I this way? Just being totally honest, right? It's something that I want to like explore for myself. But you might have a touch of the masochism. Like if you are looped into this in some way, because so like moral masochism can be highly tied to like religion, but it's where you just feel naturally guilty for like normal things, and so you feel like you deserve to be punished. Like for me, this just heavily ties into Christianity, the whole fire and brimstone, and like, you're a sinner and like whatever. For having maybe schmegsual urges, or just for being a person, making mistakes at all. Sometimes having a sadistic impulse, because actually it's very normal to have some level of a sadistic impulse, right? Like I said, it's a scale. But in regards of that, they were saying that a lot of times these people subconsciously seek out relationships where it ends up feeling like you're just being punished, or you're being abused, or you're being mistreated, and it kind of lets out that need in some kind of way. Okay, let me just. Oh, well, this is actually interesting. Okay, so this paragraph says Freud, like Sigmund Freud, the psychologist, remarked that the tendency to inflict and receive pain during intercourse is, quote, the most common and important of all the perversions, and ascribed it, as so much else, to arrested or disordered psychosexual development. He paid scant attention to the sadomasochism in women, either because sadism was thought to occur mostly in men, or because masochism was thought to be the normal and natural inclination of women. Okay, wow. I read another study, though, where they were saying that actually this sadism is being shown in the research to be almost just as common or just as common in women as it is in men. Okay, there's one other paragraph that okay, this one. Okay, hold on, wait. Okay, yes. Okay, so it says the sadist may also harbor a conscious or unconscious desire to punish the object of sexual attraction, or a stand-in for the object of sexual attraction, or for an original object of sexual attraction, for having aroused their desire and thereby subjugated them, or conversely, for having frustrated their desire or aroused their jealousy. So for some of you, you could have just been living your life, looking really good. Other people were looking at you. It aroused this person's jealousy, and they just determined within them that they were going to harm you and punish you, because when they felt attracted to you, they felt that was like a power thing. They synthesized that as like a power thing, that they're attracted to you and therefore you have the power in the situation, and they didn't like that. And so they felt like you deserved, for some of them, depending on how unconscious this is, this is like a justification of this kind of behavior. Okay, this is another interesting thing. Sadism can also be a defensive strategy. By objectifying their partner, who is thereby rendered sub or non-human, sadists do not need to handle their partner's emotional baggage and are able to tell themselves that schmegs is not all that meaningful, a mere act of lust rather than an intimate and pregnant act of love. Their partner becomes a trophy, a mere plaything, and while one can own a toy and knock it about, one cannot fall in love with it or be hurt or betrayed by it. So it's a self-defense thing. Okay, I'm just going to keep going until I find this not interesting anymore. Okay. Sadism may also represent a kind of displacement activity or scapegoating, which has come up in the readings, right? In which uncomfortable feelings such as anger and guilt are discharged onto another person. Scapegoating is an ancient and deep-rooted impulse. Oh, okay. I remember this. They get into like the Bible stuff, like the origin of it. Yeah. Okay, for the masochist this time, taking on a role of subjugation and helplessness can offer a release from stress or the burden of responsibility or guilt. It can also evoke infantile feelings of vulnerability and dependency, which can serve as a proxy for intimacy. Isn't that interesting? So if you have a touch of this masochism, then this feeling of vulnerability and dependency might serve as a proxy for genuine intimacy. Isn't that interesting? In addition, masochists may derive pleasure from earning the approval of the sadist, commanding their full attention, and in a sense, controlling them. Isn't that interesting? So, I mean, I feel like you could probably, if this person is not like a full-blown psychopath, you probably, and if they ensure that this is consensual, there's not going to be a third party involved unless you want there to be. And you're going to have, most BDSM relationships have an actual, well, I don't know if most, but I know it's recommended that you have an actual physical contract where you like really talk about the things that you're okay with, the things that you're not okay with. You have safe words, right? Because consent really is at the heart of it. They're really not trying to just be an asshole for the sake of it, right? And so probably if this person is like at all healthy and salvageable, then you could probably have like a BDSM relationship, if that's something that you're interested in, where that could be like an outlet for this in a healthy way rather than whatever this is. But I feel like they've got to talk about it, and they can't. But I don't know if you could ever trust this person, especially because they've shown a tendency for this to not be consensual. Yeah. So isn't that interesting? I just wanted to share that with you. Okay, well, actually, I'm just going to read you one more paragraph. Well, actually, maybe 2 more paragraphs. You can turn me off whenever you want. But okay, so the likely result of this. Okay, so they're talking about a certain asymmetry here because they're saying one partner is always more attached or less attached in love relationships. That's just kind of the way that it is. So they're saying domination and submission are elements of every relationship, or almost. But that does not mean that they are not tedious, sterile, and, to echo Freud, immature. Rather than playing at cat and mouse, lovers need to have the confidence and the courage to rise above that game, and not just by getting married. That caught me off guard because to me, like, I don't know, getting married is not going to solve this, okay? That piece of paper is not going to keep somebody faithful to you. Like, these games could very much continue and possibly even worsen if somebody got married to a person like this. Okay, so by learning to trust each other, they can dare to see each other as the fully fledged human beings that they truly are, ends in themselves, rather than mere means to an end. True love is about respecting, nurturing, and enabling, but how many people have the capacity and maturity for this kind of love? And of course, it takes 2 not to tango. Oh, that was fun. Okay, so that author of that's called Neil Burton. And apparently he's the author of For Better or For Worse, essays on sex, love, marriage, and more. That just sounds interesting to me. Okay, anyways, that's what I have for you. If that resonates, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye.